Dear learners, I am Ranjit Jadhav, Technical Advisor at GIZ India, working with the project named Prosoil, that is Soil Protection and Rehabilitation for Food Security in India. It gives me immense pleasure to introduce e-Prakriti approach for comprehensive planning of natural farming practices. This is a landscape-based planning approach using geoinformatic tools. This approach was developed under the GIZ Prosoil project based on our learnings and experiences from the field. The planning processes was tested in the field later on. E-Prakriti approach includes new age tools and methodologies for efficient natural farming planning by analyzing existing spatial and non-spatial open source data. This approach helps to analyze, to interpret, and to develop the plan for appropriate interventions for natural farming practices and integral components like sustainable soil management, water resource development, bioresource development, common property resources management unit of landscape. Data analysis and interpretation is an important part of this approach. However, community participation, consultation, and the ownership during the planning process is of utmost importance. India has moved from a food deficit country to a food surplus country through the input intensive and support to a few crops. However, related problems such as land degradation, water shortages and pollution, pesticide contamination of food, and biodiversity loss are becoming increasingly apparent just one generation later. And to top it all, monocropping in many areas is leading nutrient deficient food basket. A variety of successful agroecological approaches are already being implemented in India, but these often remain niche solutions and thus limited to specific regions. India is therefore promoting organic agriculture in the narrow sense through several national and state programs. To operationalize these policies, one needs a community level transition towards practices of agroecology. Thus, there is a need for a simplified planning system that can help the landscape level planning with community in much less time. Can technology enabled data set assist this process? Can the existing quality of planning be improved upon through scientific inputs on the state of soil erosion, water levels, and the interaction between different natural elements? E-Prakriti planning approach is an effort in this direction to plan an incremental integration layer, that is, landscape or water catchment area focusing on the productive agro ecosystem. E-Prakriti is a scientific and efficient planning approach which proposes integrated process for intervention planning in a production system of a landscape. E-Prakriti uses open source spatial and non-spatial datasets, geoinformatic tools which needs basic expertise and resource for planning. This approach considers different types of landscape as a unit. Landscape could be an administrative boundary like village, cluster of villages, block or districts, or the second type could be geohydrological landscape like micro watershed, watersheds, river basin, etc. Such landscape as a unit makes it easy to understand the existing resources, assets and infrastructures. Resources within the landscapes sets the boundary conditions and helps in scoping, interpreting and planning of different interventions and its potential use while implementation. This approach gives comprehensive activity plan for management of natural resources requirements for different production systems where natural farming is a core. In Indian context, there are several production systems available in a particular landscape. There are interconnections and interdependency within these production systems. In most of the landscapes, crop, livestock and forest production systems are the most important ones. Additionally, There are common property resources, and in some cases, aquaculture and other production systems are becoming crucial to that landscape level. Crop or agriculture production is the basic system one can observe in Indian context. It has a number of subsystems like agriculture, agro-horticulture, agriculture, agri-silviculture, floriculture, homestead garden, etc. Also, livestock production system is an integral part of rural landscape, which recycles organic biomass in the system, providing organic inputs for agriculture. It is an important livelihood resource for the rural community. Similarly, forest ecosystem conserves and enhances biodiversity. It also produces fodder, non-timber forest produce, etc. as other options of livelihood for the community living in the forest fringe area. E-Prakriti is focusing on landscape as an unit, hence taking care of all the production systems while interpretation of the data including commons and private farms. Natural farming, as the name suggests, is a practice of science of working with nature to achieve much more with less. Land suitability plays a significant role in most of the production systems. So, its analysis and interpretation based on different parameters helps to understand the present land uses existing in a landscape and what will be the potential proposed land uses and what interventions need to be followed to achieve this. Understanding the existing production systems, its capacities, interconnections, and interdependency are important for comprehensive planning. One cannot deny the important aspect of the landscape, that is, water resources. It's important to assess the geology, geomorphology to understand the scope for groundwater recharging, developing water resources, and its management. Overall, e-Prakriti helps in assessing different scenarios, resulting different options of intervention packages. Several open source data and information are available on GIS based platforms to address and understand the area of interest in the planning process. These open source data are used to create various layers for comprehensive analysis. This includes layers for administrative boundary or watershed boundary to demarcate the landscape, also allows to locate existing assets and infrastructures in a particular landscape, and different basic parameters for crop, livestock as well as forest production systems. And for other integral components like sustainable soil management, water resource development and bioresource development. Non-spatial data sets like population, livestock, market, etc. also help to analyze, interpret and budgeting purpose. These open source data are available with central and state departments like agriculture, forest, rural development, water resource department and institutes like Central Groundwater Board, National Remote Sensing Center, World Soil Information Services and India Water Resource Information System, etc. E-Prakriti not only gives comprehensive plan for natural farming practices, but also for composite resource management components. It includes sustainable soil management, water resource development, commons, bioresource development, fodder development, farm production system development, enterprises potential, and surplus production management. To analyze the existing situation of above resources and production systems, different spatial and non-spatial data sets are used. The analysis and interpretation of different parameters help to generate various options of interventions and activity packages. At the end, for each component, various intervention options are generated. GIZ Prosoil project is implementing sustainable soil management activities in Mandla district of Madhya Pradesh state since 2015. It also includes organic and natural farming activities, eradication of invasive species like lantana camera, and integrated livelihood activities. This year, we started to work intensively on landscape-based natural farming approach in selected villages from different blocks of Mandla district to pilot natural farming processes and activities. We selected 8 villages for this initiative. Though the agroclimatic conditions of all villages are same, but there are variations in topography, cropping pattern and availability of resources. It gives us prospect to have experiences and different learnings during the pilots. Using open source data for land degradation, we can map and analyze the type of degraded area in a particular landscape. Using the open source data obtained from Bhuvan portal developed by National Remote Sensing Center. The maps are available with the scale of 1 to 50,000 and the unit of measurement of land degradation is in hectare. This analysis and interpretation help to propose interventions for sustainable soil management and bioresource development. Equally, using open source data about wasteland, we can map and analyze the type of available culturable waste and non-culturable waste area like scrubland, degraded forest, salt affected areas, waterlogged areas, degraded pasture, barren and rocky areas. This analysis and interpretation help in planning the interventions to bring the wasteland under productive use through crop cultivation, further development, afforestation, agro-silviculture and pasture development, etc. The geology and geomorphology map are obtained from the Bhukosh, the portal of Geological Survey of India. The maps are available with 1 to 50,000 scale and the unit of measurement of geology and the geomorphology parameters are in hectare. These maps support for analyzing the existing geological and geomorphological features. It helps to map the runoff zone, recharge zone and storage zone in a particular landscape. After mapping the interventions for runoff harvesting, groundwater recharging are planned. Well data is obtained from India Water Resources Information System. Then using extrapolation function, pre-monsoon and post-monsoon groundwater situation is developed. The maps are available with 1 to 10,000 scale and the unit of measurement of groundwater is in meter. Groundwater condition before and after monsoon season is important to know the water availability at various locations in a given landscape. In addition, the geology and geomorphology maps are superimposed to interpret the recharge potential area. It helps to plan the water resource development structures in a landscape. Groundwater availability assessment also help in water budgeting and crop management for different seasons. Root zone soil wetness index is obtained from global soil grid data. The map is available with 1 to 50,000 scale and the unit of measurement of root zone soil wetness is in meter. Root zone soil wetness index is equally important to understand soil moisture capacity of different soils in the landscape. It helps to plan the interventions related to different crop models based on the suitability of soil moisture content for promoting multilayer and diversified cropping systems. Soil organic carbon map obtained from global soil grid data. The map is available with 1 to 50,000 scale and the unit of measurement of soil organic carbon stock is in percentage. This information guide in decision making on practices that aim to increase the soil organic carbon stock and it also helps to monitor the soil health in a particular landscape. This is the physical feature map of the village as a landscape, that is Changeria village from Mandla district. Different physical features including existing assets and infrastructures are obtained from Bhuvan portal developed by National Remote Sensing Center. The physical features include village boundary, watershed boundary, drainage lines, roads, existing water bodies, cattle sheds, nearest banks, mandis, etc. Different physical features help to understand the existing situation of assets and infrastructures available in a landscape. Its assessment and interpretation help in resource planning, and to plan additional assets and infrastructure requirements. Land use map is obtained from Bhuvan portal developed by National Remote Sensing Center. This map is derived from digital interpretation of spatial data sets based on the scoping study of thematic spatial layers like land use land cover, soil texture, crop season, drainage pattern and wasteland map. This is the pre-intervention map of the village as a landscape. The map shows various present land uses under agriculture, wasteland, different type of forest land, land under invasive species and habitation. In different localities, there are indigenous terminologies for various land type based on land use and suitable cropping patterns. Here, one thing is important that the present land use may differ from one landscape to another. Based on the present land use and the potential of that land for optimum productive use, suitable activities or crop models for natural farming are proposed, like cultivable wasteland proposed to be brought under crop cultivation and or further development. At the same time, non-cultivable wasteland proposed to be brought under further development. Single cropland proposed for multiple cropping like intercropping or mixed cropping. Land early used for two seasons proposed for multiple cropping and the land having irrigation facilities proposed for agro horticulture. Degraded forest proposed to be developed as a grassland with trees through afforestation. The land under invasive species are proposed for eradication of invasive species and later its use for further development. Here, one thing is important that the potential use is finalized after consultation with the community, as local wisdom, community ownership, and participation are being integral to this process. Water budgeting is derived from the total water requirement and the total water available in a given landscape. Water demand is a function of water required for humans, for livestock, for agriculture, and for other uses. Whereas water availability is a function for water collected from rain, water flowing to river, nalas, groundwater percolation, and water stored in water bodies after calculating different losses like runoff, evapotranspiration, and groundwater recharge by natural process as well as through storage structures. Water requirement over water availability gives an estimated water surplus or deficit situation. Water optimizing strategies can be developed for both demand and supply side. For supply side, potential water harvesting measures are planned. From demand side, crop management, changing to less water consuming crops and optimizing irrigation efficiency are important aspects. Here, in the given landscape, the water availability is in deficit even after considering the potential recharge, as the scope for additional surface water harvesting measures is less. There is a high water demand due to water consuming crops. There is a dependency on wells for irrigating the crops in the cultivable area. There is high pressure on groundwater with extreme discharge. Hence, the landscape-based natural farming initiatives would help in promoting diversified cropping systems and less water-intensive crops. Digital interpretation and analysis of various thematic layers like physical feature, land use, land cover, geology, geomorphology, groundwater condition, land slope help find the scope for appropriate interventions. Based on this, the interventions on natural farming practices as well as bioresource development, sustainable soil management, water security plan, consumption and surplus management are planned. The ground truthing is done with the village representatives and the perspective plan is shared with the village stakeholders for consultation. It is the stakeholders who correct and finalize the intervention plan and prioritize the activities to be implemented. Integrating livestock system is critical component in natural farming. Substantial number of livestock and desi cows are required to meet the need for biomanure. The carrying capacity of fodder in a landscape is related to crop residue from cropland, degraded grassland, and forests, and livestock information available on number and type of livestock, which helps in identifying areas as being fodder surplus or deficient. Livestock population data is collected from the livestock census available at farmers portal. The annual total feed requirement is calculated with the population of different types of livestock like cows, buffaloes, goat, pigs, and sheep, and per animal feed requirement is calculated. Calculation will be needed to arrive at the additional number of cattle for producing the required bioinoculum, manure, and pesticide. It is expected that input from cattle population will push the natural farming processes. After calculating present fodder yield and fodder production from a particular land use, help to assess the fodder budgeting for the livestock. Depending on deficit as calculated from fodder budgeting, more fodder production is proposed by converting of non-culturable waste, degraded forest and fallow land into pasture land. 5 steps or pathways are developed for e-Prakriti planning approach. The first step is mapping analysis of existing resources. The process starts from identifying and defining the unit of landscape. Using open source satellite data to understand geomorphology, geohydrology, land degradation, wasteland, etc. Complement to this data wherever necessary and available with other open source data such as data from Central Groundwater Board, World Soil Information Service, Bhuvan portal, from NREGS portal, etc. The second step is interpretation, scoping, and mapping of proposed interventions. It needs to superimpose one data set on another to make better sense of each data set for potential planning for bioresource development, sustainable soil management, water harvesting, and groundwater recharge. Once the perspective plan is ready, the third step starts consultation with stakeholders and ground truthing. Ground validation of the data is undertaken randomly on sample basis to validate the findings. Say, if the ponds, cattle sheds, or fallow land exist as per the map. The data with interpretation is translated into easily understandable, useful material available to be discussed with the community. Community consultation are critical part of this approach to prepare community for required actions, cooperation, judicious use of common resources in the village. Community consultation are held to arrive at a suitable action plan using prepared maps. Only useful maps in simpler and uncluttered format are shared in community meetings. This also serves the purpose of validation of data by the community. It is equally important to engage with the State Department in this process. Then during the fourth step, that is correction, finalization and prioritization of activity plan, as per analysis of interpreted data and perspective plan, the interventions are corrected and finalized by the community. Community themselves prioritize the activity plan. The fifth step is the critical one for action to implement the plan, that is convergence mapping. Natural farming extensively depends on use of common natural resources which can be undertaken by integrated effort of several concerned departments. There is a need for State Department to come together to plan comprehensively. It is equally important to engage with the district administration where the planning is taking place. District collector, CEO of Jila and block panchayat can play a facilitative role bringing in the convergence. Last but not the least, it is important to train departmental engineers, Rozgar Sahayaks, and similar technically competent functionaries for basic GIS based softwares such as Bhuvan and India Varis, Bhuvan Panchayat to extract the necessary data. This approach combining landscape production systems and its management, including the social parameters, provides an integrated outlook for developing the comprehensive plan for natural farming. This can truly help the practitioners to make a successful transition towards institutionalizing the practices of natural farming. I would like to thank Manage for taking this initiative for developing and offering this MOOC on natural farming. धन्यवाद.